what's up everybody? It's Chris from Fast Cars Live, and today we're going to talk about the Morimoto C7 style headlights for the C6. We're going to be putting them in the FCL C6 Vette today. It's really a plug and play operation. Just plugs right into the harness. The only thing you have to do is run a wire from the fuse box to both lights so that you get your DRLs. It's going to be a little time consuming, but it is not difficult. I would say probably a 5 or 6 on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being most difficult, probably a 5 or a 6. Time consuming. There's a lot of videos out there that tell you to take off the entire front bumper. I don't think we have to do it that way. In fact, I learned some new things. The videos that I watched, that I saw, showed a little bit different than what I found when I started taking this thing apart. There's not as many bolts and screws. There's more clips now. So anyway, just give us a minute, we'll get to it. We'll hopefully be able to shed some light on this and make everybody unafraid to take on this project themselves. Just need some basic hand tools and some patience and you'll be able to do it. I would also like to thank Vette Lights for helping us out with this. Great customer service, great communication. I think the cars look awesome. They've got a lot of great products. We've got another video also on the Morimoto taillights as well. An install video on those. Those only took about 10-15 minutes to do. So anyway, let's get to it. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is setup. I've seen videos where guys have put this on a jack. I've seen them put it on jack stands. I've seen them take the wheels off. You can do all that and it probably will save you maybe a few minutes, because by the time you get done jacking a Corvette up, I don't know if you guys are aware, but you definitely want to make sure you have the right jack points and the right technique for jacking up a Corvette. You don't want to jack up the car by putting the stuff in the wrong place and bending something. In fact, give me 1 second. I'm going to show you the jacking, the pucks that I found online. All right, so here's a jacking puck, and there's a little slot underneath the car right about the seam between the door and the fender, and I'll put a picture in the description and also a picture of the little oval slot. But basically what happens, the way you use this is this just goes up into the oval slot and you turn it and it'll hang, and that's the point that you want to jack it. You want to put your jack right underneath this. That should make it a little bit easier for you guys, that, you know, the ones that are going to put it up on a jack or on jack stands. You want to make sure you jack it up properly. All right, there's one more important thing that I want to share with you, kind of a little tips and tricks section. If you're going to be doing this in your garage or anywhere, the best and easiest way that I found to kind of get the lights adjusted back to where they should be is to turn the headlights on before you start and go directly in front of the light and mark a spot on the wall where the car is. So you know that the center of the beam should be no higher than that mark. And you should be roughly center of the beam, roughly about where you put your mark. Obviously you're not going to be able to get it direct center, but just eyeball it, get center of the beam. So I went ahead and did that on the garage door, and I also did it on the wall here, and then this is center of the beam. I just, because the way the wall was, I wanted to make sure I put 2 marks, and they're pretty much in line. So just a quick little tip, maybe save you a few minutes. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is just have your wheel. You may have to maneuver it in between. It seems to me that getting the wheel all the way out, just turn the farthest towards the side that you're going to work on, will give you enough room. Now this is a 2010 C6, and the other videos that I've seen have all been on earlier models, and what they've said is that in order to get this inner fender loose, there are 7mm bolts on it. What I found is different. So if you can see right here, I've already taken them loose, but those are the holes that some of the earlier model cars have 7mm bolts on. What I found are these guys, and they're just little clips. So when you find them in the body, you'll find them like this, and the way to get them out is, if you can see, there's little notches on the sides. You just get a flat blade screwdriver and stick it underneath, and once you can get it started, you can take one of these little tools and pop it up. Now if you pull it too hard, it will actually come all the way out. You don't need to have it all the way out. The way these work is they squeeze together. When you put them back in, you'll push it in and then push this lock all the way in, and it'll spread those little wings there and it won't allow it to come out. So there are no 7mm bolts in a 2010 C6. All right, so here's a quick look at where I found those clips on the 2010. There's 2 down here at the bottom. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's one more all the way in the back, but I don't think we're going to need to take that out because I think we'll have plenty of access to get our arms in there and see what's going on. Okay, so after we pop out the clips and get this inner fender loose, there's one bolt up underneath that we're going to have to get to loosen the fender, or the front bumper from the fender here. And then there are also some bolts, which I'll show you right here. There are some bolts on the inside, 1, 2, 3, 4, that will help you get the front bumper loose because you are going to have to wiggle it. There's another one down inside here, and I believe there's a clip that holds the front bumper to the front fender. Okay, so I've taken off all the bolts that hold the front bumper cover on, and there's this little clip right here. If you can see that, just lift it up and pull it up so the bumper front bumper slides up. And then what I wanted to show you is there's a little clip in there, hopefully you can see it, and a little slot on the front bumper. That clip just pops straight up out of that slot. You can do it by hand. I've seen people that say they needed to put a plastic body tool, trim tool in between and pull it up, but it's up. And then if you can see right there, there's another 15 torque screw. That's the last one, I believe, that holds the fender on. So we're gonna go ahead and take that out right now. There are also, and I'm gonna see if I can show you guys this, there are also bolts up underneath here. So if you can see that bolt right there, that's the bolt that's gonna remove or loosen. We're gonna take that off so we can, so the front fender, and there's actually another one up in there. So there's another bolt right there that will loosen the fender from the front bumper, and that will allow us to help get this loose enough so that we can manipulate the fender and the bumper and get the headlight in without taking everything off. I'm gonna see what I can see here. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it or if I'll be able to see it, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna look and see, go back and see if I can see this, but underneath, hopefully you'll be able to see there are 3 nuts that you have to get off. Those are the 3 nuts that are actually holding the headlight in. So we're gonna get those, we're gonna get this all loosened up and taken off. Okay, so here are the 6 washer nuts that were down underneath. 3 of them holding the headlight on. These are the 3 bigger ones, and 3 of them holding the front fender on. 2 of them go right here, 1 here and 1 here. I don't know if you can see the 2. There's 2 studs, and then 1 more up underneath. They are a little tough to get to. You just have to feel around. I just used a 10mm wrench, and the good news is the ones that are holding the headlight in are easily loosened by hand. Just 1 or 2 turns by the wrench, and then the rest of the way you can loosen by hand. Unfortunately, one of them, the frontmost one on the fender, was a bear. So take your time. You don't want to scratch or break anything, and it just take a few extra minutes. All right, so here we go. We're gonna try to tackle this together. Let's see what it takes to get it out. Okay, so as it turns out, I forgot this one right here. That was the last thing that was holding me up. So fender bolts, or yeah, I guess they're bolts. They're really screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then underneath there's one right holding that on. That's number 7. So make sure you get all of those out. And once you do, you should have enough clearance to get that headlight out. All right, we're gonna try this again. So I want you to see something. I know somebody else mentioned in another video, this little tab right there doesn't have any bolts in it, and I'm not sure why it's there either, but you gotta kind of get that cleared out. So I just put some microfiber towel around the fender so I wouldn't scratch it, or on the bumper, and you just kind of wiggle and maneuver till you get this thing free. And now it's out. The harness is clipped on the inside with this little clip right here. So basically what you want to do is just unclip it at the harness. I also want to point out this little safety tab right here. Basically you just got to take a screwdriver and wedge it right in the center, right there in the center where that little tab is in the center, to get this to pull out. It's just a little locking tab that keeps the harness from coming unclipped. That's all it is. At the suggestion of another one of the videos that I saw, I'm just going to go ahead and take these factory studs out. They were telling me that it's easier to adjust the new headlights with the factory studs in. So I'm just going to go ahead and swap out all three of these and the new lights. Okay, something I noticed that I want to point out, and I didn't notice it on the other side. These factory studs have shims in them. These two. This has two. They feel like nylon. This has one. This has zero. So obviously when they lined up the lights in the factory, they had to shim these. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and put these back in the same position they came out of the stock lights, and hopefully that'll put us right back exactly where we want to be. Okay, so there's a couple other things that I wanted to point out. Number one, this is the little resistor, and it's got to be mounted somewhere. I think I'm going to go ahead and mount it right about there with some double-sided tape. Number two, this is the plug that has to be plugged in to both side headlamps. This is for your daytime running lamps. And number three, this is the plug right here that if you do not want sequential turn signals, then you will leave this plugged in. I do want sequential turn signals, so I just taped them up the best I could to try to avoid getting any type of moisture inside of them. I just wrapped them with regular electrical tape. Unfortunately, I didn't have any shrink sleeve that's big enough to go over that. Last thing is, this is your regular plug harness, and I'm going to go ahead and use some dielectric grease on there when I put it together, just to try to seal it off and make it easier to get in, and also eliminate any moisture from getting in there. Alright, so one more very important thing you want to not forget to do is you got to run this wire right here. This is what's going to connect your DRLs. And where I'm going to run it is right through on top of the core support. So I'm going to go, I just took a coat hanger, and I'm going to go right across the top so you can see it's right where the hood hinge attaches. I'm going to go right across the top, all the way across the other side, hook my wire to it, and pull it through. So I can see it's got daylight out there the other side, so let's go try to make this work. All right, now that I got the wire pulled through that little tunnel there, I'm just going to run it down underneath. And it should be ready for me to plug into the harness. So let's work on getting this other light in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the new light in. First thing I'm going to do is plug in to the harness. I'm going to go ahead and put that locking tab back in. And then I'm going to plug in the second harness, which is for the daytime running lamps. Now is the fun part. Wiggling and jiggling. Get the light back in. And make sure nothing's sitting underneath it. Alright, looks like it's pretty close. I'm going to have to do a little bit of adjusting just to make sure everything fits the way it should. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and get it all buttoned back down, and we'll check it out here in a minute. Alright, and obviously the last thing you want to do before you put everything back together is test it and make sure everything's working. I know the DRLs are flickering, but that just has to do with the frame rate of the camera. Looks like the lights, the turn signals, and the DRLs are working. I still haven't hooked up the DRLs so that they're on when the lights are off. Let's check the brights. Looks like the brights are on as well, so it looks like we're good to go. Start buttoning this thing back up again. Alright guys, so the last thing we got to do in order to make these DRLs work is we got to plug them into the fuse box. This is the little pigtail fuse right here that comes attached, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to remove the number 6 fuse and you're going to plug in, this is 2 fuses on it, so it will replace both fuses. I think it's a 15 amp for the O2 sensor and it's a 3 amp for the daytime running lamps. So all you're going to do is plug that right in there, make sure it seats all the way down, and you're going to have to make a little notch in your in the inside of your cover, your fuse cover, in order for it to close. You just want to give it a little bit of pressure to make sure that it doesn't come out and it doesn't slide around. But that's it. So the last thing I'm going to do to tidy up the installation is I'm just going to take the cable that's plugged into the fuse box and zip tie it real nice, hide it along the hood release cable, and zip tie it to the hood release cable, and we'll be all done, ready to go. So the last thing you're going to need to do is line up your headlights horizontally and vertically. Check out this diagram that will show you what that should look like and how to set up your car to do so. Hopefully after the new light installation, the beams will be close to where they were when you marked them before you started. In order to make the necessary adjustments, you'll have to remove the headlight adjustment access cover inside the wheel well right behind the headlights. Take a look at this picture. The inner screw will adjust the vertical aim while the outer screw will adjust the horizontal aim. You should be able to adjust them with a Phillips head screwdriver or a small socket. It's helpful if you can have someone watch the beams as you turn the screws to let you know when you get them on target. Alright guys, well there you have it. C7 style headlights installed on the FCL C6 Vette 2010. Honestly, I think the thing that was most difficult, even though it wasn't that hard, it was just time consuming, was all the adjustments to get the lights lined up inside the fender and the bumper, and also to get the angle correct. I wasn't able to get them lowered all the way down exactly even with where the stock ones were. They're just a little bit higher, so I'm hoping that's going to be okay. I think they turned out really good. Thanks again to Vette Lights. We really appreciate it. Great customer service, great product. You know, feels sturdy and well built. It's definitely worth the money in my opinion. So thanks very much. Appreciate you watching. Please follow us on Instagram and YouTube, and post some comments. Let us know what you think of the FCL C6, the headlights, and also anything else you guys might want to see in terms of doing a mod to this car or the Project JPS Camaro, or any other types of cars you want to see. So once again, thank you very much. If you like this video, please give us a big thumbs up, and please follow on Instagram and YouTube. Take care.